dealing with a book, adapting a book, turning it upside down and letting the words fall out of the book. That's a Peter Weir statement.
Well,
I love that.
I mean, the first thing you lose is the prose. And in many cases, or if you're dealing with a classic, the work of a giant. Talk of, Baz Luhrmann must have taken a deep breath when he got to work on The Great Gatsby. That those chiseled diamond-like sentences of Fitzgerald's.
Yeah.
Shake them all out; they'll fall out. Yeah, you can put a couple of lines in an actor's mouth, but it's not his prose. It's not his writing.
It's not going to work on
screen. What you're left with is the framework. You're left with the story. And
but that's a gutsy thing to do, to think of it in those terms, instead of kneeling before the altar of the book and the sanctity of every word.
Well, I think it's important in the way I see it. It's important. I never prescribe things for others, but there's many ways that you can make a film. But in my case, it's a relationship with the book. Of course, I'm doing it because I've loved it, but I do understand that old saying, or it's been misunderstood perhaps, but that it's easier to make a good film of a bad book than the other way around. And I think that's because the bad book you don't respect and you can change anything and you're not inhibited. You maybe only like the title or you only like one character. But with a book you've liked or loved, then the danger is that you're too much in love with it, because the majority of the audience probably won't have read it unless you're doing, which is unlikely to be doing, a blockbuster book. So then you have to understand what it was that initially drew you to it. It's as if there's some phantom, shadowy image that matches something in the book. You've got to match some sentiment, something in the book, but it's rare to be able to put it in words. And it's in fact unsayable. You may not even know what it is till you've done the film. What drew you to it? And it's always the most awkward question. I try not to show that on my face in interviews after having made the film with the press, where they say, what made you choose this book? Mm-hmm. And the right answer I try and stick to is, I don't know. But usually, of course, it just seems like you're being difficult. So you pick on some aspect of it. Good story, good book. I loved it, whatever. But the real reason is pretty hard to know. And, it's like feeling love for somebody. Why do you feel love for that person? And you say, I don't know, and I don't know what that is, but it just happened. So the danger is that you can find yourself in a room full of mirrors, just reflecting yourself. So you have to be hard.
Well put.
You have to be tough. And I have these images. I kick the book in the backside. I mean, when no one's looking, I give it a kick like that. And that's one of the things I'll do, to disrespect it. Another thing I'll do is turn my back on it and go in another direction, just write something to do with the story that's not in the book, and see if the book comes and taps me on the shoulder, I'll ignore it. I'll try and ignore it. I'll try and dislike it. During the process, anything to get myself free of its tyranny so that the film can breathe, because this might as well be music. You might as well be making music from a book. It's that different to make a bunch of images and sounds that correspond to something you read, and one experience is alone and the other is in hopefully a large theatre full of people.
In all of these comments, you're describing the book as if it's a living presence that you must contend with somehow.
I think I feel that that's true, and again probably because in my case, with all the books I've done, I have had great respect for the writers and met many of them. And when I've met them, I've said to them, this is difficult for me and will be difficult for you. You probably won't like the film unless it's a big hit, or your friends like it, then you may come to terms with it. You invented it, you live with the characters. And then I'll say, I prefer to work with dead authors, because it's harder to look them in the eye when you've finished,
Well, have you been in contact with Jennifer Egan at all?
Yes, we had an exchange an email and a phone call in which I said some of these things.
Yeah.
I said, I don't expect you to like it. And there will be changes that you may disapprove of. And, I hope that she's not some as some authors are, and I suspect she isn't, talk about protecting the work as if filmmakers, that is Hollywood, comes in and sort of rapes, these damsel books or something. And whereas really they should come in strongly. Yes, it's awful if somebody takes a book and then completely destroys some core elements within that book. I mean, a loved book, a widely known book. But, maybe they need to do that. I don't know. Have you ever read The Tin Drum? I bet that's not very similar.
Mr. Carrier worked on that film, apparently, too.
He did.
Yeah.
And what about Kubrick, 2001? Mm-hmm. I mean, he sort of had the book rewritten, basically. As I understand it, he completely changed it.
And then Arthur C. Clarke follows suit and picks up on Kubrick's ideas.
Ah, there you are, yeah.
Yeah, he re-released the story, expanded very much along Kubrick's lines. Now, let's place this in time. It's been almost 2 weeks ago since you first told me about the screenplay you're working on now. Now, in 2 weeks, what typically happens? Have you thought more about it than actually put words to paper?
No. This is
not?
I was a month away then from delivery of this draft by contract to the producer. So it's 2 weeks to go.
Oh my gosh!
So at this stage, after 5 months' work, and I think generally an adaptation takes about 12 months. An original, if you're starting from scratch with an original screenplay, can take years. But an adaptation, 12 months. Is a good time and I think a necessary time to live with it and rewrite it. So I'm halfway through the process where I'm due to deliver it.
And no other writer is intervening with you here? No,
because I think my take on it was too personal in some way, too difficult to put in words, and I didn't really, although I missed a co-writer. I love co-writing, because you have that tremendous exchange verbally, and when you're fatigued, the other writer can carry the baton for a while. And it's fun. It's lonely on your own, it's tough. But some scripts require that privacy while I search out what the hell reason I chose it might be.
Now, are you finding out why you chose it?
Now I'm 2 weeks from delivery and polishing the draft. That's the fifth draft. A comfortable daily routine the last couple of weeks of altering sentences here, shifting things slightly, but I have a shape and I was happy with it. Then 2 or 3 days ago, I had a completely new idea.
There you go.
And that idea is now causing me to have to work very hard and fast. And maybe it's wrong, but it does change things structurally.
Didn't let you get complacent, did it?
No.
No.
So I've gone back into it and major surgery.
It's like a house of cards, though? Removing one card?
Well, I was into the medical
structure.
analogy. When you bought the house of gambling analogy or house of cards. No, I was thinking of myself as a surgeon, so this patient had been treated and was in recovery, and I'm saying, we've got to go back in. I think I made a mistake. We've got to open it up again.
Now, I've talked to a number of people, the wonderful playwright August Wilson, for example. They cannot write unless they're in a hotel lobby, a cafe, where there's people back and forth, myriads of stories all around them that becomes kind of a hubbub.
Interesting.
Can you write that way?
No, but wouldn't that be...
Can you understand why?
Yes, absolutely. It's just what's good for them. I don't think it matters. People have all kinds of different routines, I'm sure, but I think mostly it would be a solitary occupation in a kind of room somewhere. That's unusual, the lobby.
Yeah.
And desire or need.
I think it would be distracting. You might find 1,000 wonderful stories all around you, but maybe that has nothing to do with what you...
No rule. There's no... There's just no way that you can organise yourself to have the muse or muse's descent. No way. It will just happen. It might... Perhaps that's the point. And the point Carrier's making, the actual physical writing of the thing is the lesser side of it. It's the thinking and not thinking, as a Buddhist would say. Not thinking. That's when things happen. So, to some extent, you have probably the more important point of a writing time is what you do in between writing. Is it physical? Is it something to do with sport? Is it having a few drinks? Any of those things might be someone's way of getting the cattle prod working, getting you going, getting you. even of being available for the muse, for the lightning bolt, the flash, the light bulb. That's what you're hunting for. You're hunting for this, or trying to leave yourself open. You can't hunt it because the muse comes to you, but you can find a way to make yourself open so that you're available for inspiration.
Does this mean, though, that sometimes you are burdened by the fact that you're always looking, always observing?
No, I don't,
you
because
can't
I
shut
have
it off.
ways to tune out. Music will do it for me.
Ah.
Jam the radar, as I call it. I play it, during a film, very much in the evening after a day's work, and you've got the day tomorrow to think about. I'll usually have a couple of glasses of wine, very much part of the process, and then put on my cans and the music that I'm playing around that film. I'll put something on, and it does jam the radar. It stops conscious thought and allows the unconscious free play, because you can't think while you're listening to music that's strikes a very strong chord with you. You have to listen and to get taken with the music, and then somewhere in that I'll have a pen and paper there. A telegram will come through the brain. Put that down.
I like that.
But it's I just take it down like a telegram.